Today I've been granted the privilege of introducing our next speaker. Having distinguished herself in various fields of medical research and practice, she is credited with the discovery and development of 12 biotherapeutic antineoplastin protocols effective in the treatment of all stages of no less than 9 different forms of respiratory cancer. A CHO cell recombinant therapeutic protein treatment for Parkinson's disease, and the development of minimally invasive procedures for pre- and postnatal treatment of 2 childhood diseases contracted in utero. Now for your ladies, because you have actually looked at your programs, something men never do until they begin to wonder how close we are to the end, you will be among the first to realize that virtually all of what I just said is not actually true. But mark my words, for those of you who know her at all, by God's grace and blessing in the years ahead, we all have good reason to suspect that at least a similar caliber of accomplishments awaits this next young lady. With the same kind of determination and steel grit a master cliff climber brings to the head of each and every one of their driven stakes, knowing that their own life, reputation, and the lives of others depend upon it, so too this person, anticipating for quite some time a medical career, has approached her academic studies, mastering 1 lesson, 1 assignment, 1 quiz, essay, report, paper, project, test, and exam at a time. Actually, a member of the National Honor Society, winner of 11th and 12th grade Top Scholar Awards, listed on high honor roll all 4 quarters of all 4 years, conquistadora of 6 advanced placement courses, winner of multiple subject and grade level awards in English, literature, history, geometry, Spanish, Psalms, science, and physics. Winner of this year's departmental awards in English, science, and Spanish. 3-year student editor-in-chief of our yearbook. A principal and soloist performer and choreographer in ballet, jazz, and modern dance. Active in both church and community. Her teachers think we have finally figured out the secret of her success. In addition to her own presentation of materials, she actually also reads the book. Most importantly, she is a student of the good book. Because of her consistent willingness to serve, encourage, and cheer others, faculty has also voted her recipient of this year's Christian Character Award. Clearly blessed of mind with such an academic record, this is a record equally matched by a humble, godly, encouraging, and joy-filled spirit. Class of 2015, ladies and gentlemen, I give you our summa cum laude valedictorian, Taylor Hartzel.
Member of the board, honored guests, faculty, administration, friends, family, and most importantly, my fellow graduates. Hello and welcome to Plumstead Christian School's 2015 graduation. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be standing before all of you today. Before I begin, I want to extend a special thank you to the parents of these students in front of you. The sacrifices they have made to send their children here have not gone unnoticed. Each graduate has been an integral part of our class dynamic. If even one of these individuals were missing, we would be lacking greatly in character, talent, and personality. So again, I thank you for the time and money you you've invested in sending your child to Plumstead. As I look at the faces of my fellow classmates, I'm struck by how long some of us have been together. Many can probably remember our kindergarten days with Mrs. Taylor, filled with coloring, kid pics, and learning how to read. Others may remember raising caterpillars and watching them turn into butterflies, playing recorders in the spring concert, using batteries and wire to light a light bulb, and competing to see who could acquire the most reading counts points. During those years, every learning opportunity was exciting, and every new discovery was treasured. We rarely complained about the amount of time we had to spend memorizing multiplication tables or poring over Magic Treehouse books, but instead reveled in our newfound abilities and the increasing ease in which we could complete academic tasks. However, somewhere along the way, this joy and awe that we had felt towards school started to dim. The little chapter books that we were once required to read turned into heavy Shakespearean plays, and the division time test we once needed to complete it turned into confusing trigonometry functions. Our nights became filled with studying, research, and calculations mounted upon hours at the sports field, or the stage, or the studio. Some of us have experienced the feeling of sleep deprivation after staying up until 2 a.m. to study for another biology test about meiosis and mitosis. Others have felt the drop in their stomachs after arriving at school to find out that the polynomial math test was indeed that morning and none of the formulas would be given. Still more can relate to the heavy weight on their shoulders after receiving a less than satisfactory grade on their latest English paper about the literary themes in The Great Gatsby. School became more of a dreaded chore than an area of discovery and enlightenment. All the deadlines, assignments, and grades started to shroud our vision and muddle our motivation. Now, my purpose in resurfacing these, at times, traumatizing experiences that many of you have been trying to forget is not to vent at the teachers, tear down Plumstead, or rip the whole institution of education apart. Unfortunately, regardless of where we all end up in the fall, each one of us will most likely participate in more late-night study sessions, suffer the effects of sleep deprivation, endure the feelings of sorrow after receiving a low grade, and be forced to comply with deadlines at a given university. Instead, I want to encourage all of you to remember the days of elementary school and that rush of excitement that would flow through the class when a new unit of discovery began. You see, so often we become too entangled in the institutional elements of education that we miss all the beauty encapsulated in the process of learning. For instance, we spend such large amounts of time dissecting poems by T.S. Eliot that we forget to appreciate the exquisite combination of words so carefully twisted together into moving passages like, "We are the hollow men, we are the stuffed men." Take also, for example, the night spent memorizing the movement of sodium and potassium ions across the cell membrane during an action potential. We become so wrapped up in the mundane facts needed to pass a test that we do not realize how amazing it is that we actually have electrical impulses coursing through our bodies at every moment, allowing us to feel the lightest touch. Even more importantly, we so often forget how incredible it is that we have an organ composed of white and gray matter, an intricate network of neurons that allows us to absorb and comprehend these things, the world around us. Instead, we permit the demands of education, the deadlines, assignments, and test scores to veil the fact that learning is a privilege granted by God. If we look to the beginning of man's existence, we can clearly observe this special purpose and opportunity ordained by the Lord, who declares in Genesis 1:26, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky." We are the only organisms who were created to resemble the Lord in some fashion, the all-knowing, infinitely intelligent God whose thoughts, according to Isaiah, are higher than ours. He has gifted us with the capacity to understand all the complexities and inner workings of his creation, and has granted us a position above all other creatures who do not possess these same faculties of reason. This is why the writer of Psalm 139:14 is able to write, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know this full well." Through the process of learning, we are able to recognize the awe-inspiring deeds of our Creator and know them full well. Therefore, due to our unique capacities and the position granted to us, we are, in a way, obligated to continue exploring the world around us, to educate ourselves. Pediatric neurosurgeon Ben Carson once said, "God has given us more than 14 billion cells and connections in our brain. Why would God give us such a complex organ system unless he expects us to use it?" Paul echoes and expands this sentiment in Romans 1:20 when he says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made so that people are without excuse." We should rejoice in this gift of our brains and our ability to acquire a deeper view into who our Creator is, and the privilege we have been granted to continue in our pursuit of knowledge. I believe that the more we discover about the world around us, the complexities of our circulation system, the physical laws that govern the movement of objects on Earth, the ways different languages can express such similar sentiments, the more profound our relationship becomes with our Creator. As we begin to understand at a higher level how our world functions, we are able to acquire a more accurate perception of God's invisible qualities and a fuller view of the love he possesses for each one of his masterpieces. So, I want to urge all of us to never stop in our pursuits of knowledge. As we begin college, a gap year program, or a career in the fall, we should not allow the stress of a 10-page paper, the pressure of a deadline, or the pain of a failure to squelch our curiosity and subdue that childlike joy that accompanies a new academic discovery. There is no doubt that these next few years ahead of us will hold stress, disappointment, and exhaustion. However, we must never lose sight of the ultimate goal of education. Regardless of the success that we may or may not experience, the things that we learn will enrich our understanding not just of the world we live in, but of the Creator we serve. Therefore, as we part ways and settle in different corners of the country, we need to cling to our original purpose and privilege so clearly stated in Genesis. Each area of study that we may pursue offers us unique opportunities to delight in the Lord, as well as the way in which he chose to design us, for we are all fearfully and wonderfully made.